My students call me Laura, and I'm really, really delighted that you're all here. I'm a writer and a poet. I am a dog sitter, and so you're going to hear dogs. I will have 2 huskies arriving momentarily, and that's always very exciting. And so when they come, the dogs will start barking. I was expecting them a little bit earlier, but that didn't happen. Some exciting things, just so you have a sense of where my world and how I inhabit the role of being a writer in the world. I have good news. Today I was invited by the VA to participate, to teach one module of a program training new physicians in biopsychosocial medicine using story. And this is really amazing. It's going to be a pilot program that is funded and could possibly go national. The last time I did a pilot program with the VA, it went national, and it was based in narrative healthcare, using story to train physicians and capture the stories of veterans and put them in the medical record. So when physicians came in, that's what they saw first, rather than last 4 of the social and addictions and illnesses, not what's wrong, but what the person's life is. So that just happened today. So I'm very, very excited to do that. And last week I produced a play in Zoom because we knew the variant was coming. And this was a play. Well, we're going to ignore that and not even look to see what on earth just happened. It sounds good. The play was readings of poetry by poets with disabilities. And oh, good. I hope I didn't scare the cat. I hope that.
She didn't know.
Good.
Didn't phase her. The minute the computer comes on, she's here.
Oh, lovely.
No.
And the play was with 3 other people with disabilities. I'm deaf. I use hearing aids and headphones and lip reading. And we had a woman with cerebral palsy, a woman with spina bifida, and trans men with autism and chronic illnesses. And we did this amazing play of reading these poems and then telling our own stories in between them and conversing with each other. And people really responded beautifully to it. And that will become an ongoing project. So those are just 2 of the things that I, as you can see, I'm a very socially engaged writer. I believe in both writing our own stories to heal ourselves, as well as writing to move stories into the world and show people just how valuable stories are. And in our program, I think the most important thing we do is teach the skills to tell stories in ways that people will want to read them. And more importantly, perhaps we learned that the stories that we have within us are worth telling. Okay? And whatever the story is, there's an audience for it. I am an incredibly supportive professor. I'm against stress, like at a really, like at a religious level. I am opposed to it. I think it's very damaging. I think it's patriarchal since we're all women here. And I just don't allow it. And so when you come into the program, you may feel a little bit nervous. You might feel, oh gosh, here I am back in the classroom. I don't know how it works. And you'll feel stress. So just remember that my rule is no stress. And I actually will respond to emails like that if I get a high stress email about, all this stuff is going on in our lives and we just can't make it to class that night. There's no need to apologize. I will record class and send you the recording. I know that we have busy lives. We're taking care of people. We're taking care of community. We're taking care of ourselves. And I'm not saying never come to class, but I am saying that I prioritize health and well-being in the program. As you move into writing, you will experience some life shifts. They're undeniable. They always happen, often because we've put writing on the back burner for a while. We've been hesitant. Maybe we had to we had other things to do, raising a family, fighting for our careers. We had health issues, and so many things get in the way of putting writing in the center of our lives. And once you sign on to this, writing will be in the center, and it's just beautiful. It aligns other things, and I noticed that it also, you'll have community in your life again. And after the pandemic, I think we've lost that, but we've developed beautiful communities in our classes. We don't even understand how it happens. It might be my no stress rule. We also have a no comparing rule. Like, we just try not to say, oh, well, that person's such a great writer, I'm not like them. No, you're not like them. You shouldn't be like them. You're going to be you, and we're going to grow you and your voice and talent in the program. And yes, we learn from each other. We listen to each other all the time and absorb bits from each other like a wonderful soup, but we still maintain our forms of carrots, potatoes, beef, and onions. You know, we don't meld. And my philosophy behind that comes from my own graduate school experience, where I left graduate school writing like my teachers. They were just so intrusive in how they taught. They thought it was teaching, but it was intrusion. And it was 10 years after I got my MFA until I wrote my own poem and heard my own voice. That's very, very serious to me. So in the program, you'll come in with your writing, you'll come in with your voice, and I will shower you with books to read every semester. And we read multiple books at the same time in my classes. Other professors might do it different ways, but this is so that we never get too attached to one other person's voice, right? And we keep mixing it up. We keep hearing different ideas so that our own voice stays central and absorbs what it needs from other writers. This way, when you finish the program, you are you, only better. And you have more skills, more confidence. One example is a student she was in marketing throughout her professional career. She's just about to retire, and she's joined, and she came in with wonderful ideas and wonderful observations. Throughout the program, she has learned strategies for the best way to tell this story. Maybe it should be told in first person. Maybe it should be told in third person. Maybe it should be a poem instead of a play. Maybe it should be a work of creative nonfiction. And what a great face on that little black dog. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a writer's face. So she came in knowing she wanted to be a writer, knowing she was a writer, knowing she had this impulse, but she didn't have different techniques for moving the idea. Hey guys, come on, moving the idea into the world. Now she's like kind of like a superhero. She'll have an idea and then be like, ooh, a little dialogue, a little scenery, a little narrative description, a little summary, and then she'll jump at, she moves in time in a piece. And these are the skills that we need to move that impulse of having a great idea for a story or a screenplay or a novel or a poem or a work of creative nonfiction, knowing how to shape it. And that is, it's been really empowering, watching for her to do it and for me to watch her do it. And that's very much the story of every student that comes through. Without a high stress environment, we learn a lot. I think that I attribute that effect to we're grown-ups and we know how to learn and we know how to listen and we want to be here. So there's no need for some weird power structure to be getting in the way between you and your creative voice. Now, do I provide critique? Yes. When you ask for it. Sorry, an Irish setter just put his face in my lap. There we go, and pulled my headphones off. I allow students to ask for 3 kinds of critique. It's like I use the Mexican restaurant model. It can be mild, spicy, or you know what? I just heard someone call it "kill me now," and I will not give "kill me now" critique for your first 3 or 4 semesters. You can only ask for that. You know, when a piece, you've revised it as far as it can go, and even then it won't kill you because you'll know the language that I'm using. And so if you get, like, some people do get the suggestion from one of our teachers, I haven't ever done it, but it's like, you've got the wrong narrator for this entire novel. Boom. So the student rewrites the entire novel with a different narrator. I wouldn't do that to somebody in the first semester or the second semester, but by your final semesters, when you're writing your novel or a portion of your novel, you're ready for that. You really, you're hungry for it. And I shouldn't. Another restaurant in town calls it Caveman, the ultra spicy. I call it Caveman. So that's my philosophy. I have many more philosophies, but I would like to open it up to you. It doesn't normally sound like this, and it doesn't sound like this when I'm teaching. I'm not really sure what's going on, but we're going to hope that everyone's alive, everything's okay. What questions do you have for me? And please feel free to share your story, because that's what we're here about. And they can be creative process questions or deeper, whatever, or technical.
Could you talk about the selective or the elective writing workshops a little more and what those entail?
I'd be happy to. In the program, you will take 7 workshops and 7 courses called literary study. The literary study courses also include writing.
Mhm.
We offer them under that title so that if you wish to teach at a university, you have 18 hours of literary study credit, and that will enable you to teach English classes and not just freshman comp. The writing workshops, of which there are 7, in my model, which I think is across the board. I think that Dale Bailey, our other instructor who runs fiction, in my classes, we pretty much bring work each week. I'm a very generative teacher. I use a practice called 800 words based on the New Zealand TV show called 800 Words, in which a journalist writes 800 words each week for his article. And I saw that and I thought, 800 words is a good number. We can all write 800 words in a week. What generally happens if I go to 2,000 words a week, we freeze and it seems overwhelming. 800 words is doable. We wrote 500 word answers for college applications however many years ago. If 500 words is comfortable, 800 feels like a little bit, enough to get something going. What generally happens is you get to 800, you get to 2,000. But on weeks that you don't get to 2,000, you don't feel bad. I did have teach a class where I required 5,000 words a week. And it was incredible, but it was, I think, too much to ask. And we bring our work and everybody listens to you read. The classes are small. We have 6 or 7 students in each class, so it looks like this meeting. There's time for everybody to read. There's time for everybody to listen. And after you have read, you can choose, this is trauma informed, you can choose what kind of feedback you want. You can choose, this is kind of like the mild, medium, and caveman spices. Here come the, no, that's not it. Okay. For instance, I bring a piece, it's really, really raw. I dug really, really deep to find it. It is deeply personal. And I really just don't know if it communicates what I think it does. And sorry, I'm just going to close this door and try to keep Phoebe quiet. I'm so sorry about this. I wasn't expected to have a 1-year-old. So I'm not really sure if I can take any suggestions right now. What I really want to know right now is, does it communicate? Does it have a voice? So I will ask, I want to know what you heard. And so everybody will say, well, I heard a story about a sibling rivalry. And somebody else will say, I heard a story about tension between two women. And I really heard the details of the description of the kitchen. And this lets me know as a writer if I'm communicating what I think I'm communicating. Often we're not. And so I didn't realize it was about my sister. Like that can actually happen. I didn't realize that that was what I was writing about. Mm-hmm. And then I go back and I revise it on my own. I can bring it back another week. Another way to do it is I've brought in a piece. I've shared it with some of my classmates already. They've told me what they think. I know how it's behaving. I know what it wants to do. I don't know if the ending works. So I preface my reading with, tell me if the ending works. And then I read the piece and everybody sees it on our Canvas program. So they've read it before class. But then I really believe in reading pieces out loud during class, because then we hear the music of the piece. And often I make revisions while I'm reading something out loud. I'm like, ooh, that sentence, that needs some work. And in workshops where maybe only 2 or 3 people will read each night, then we can go more deeply. And we intuit what we need as the semester goes on. The benefit of having everybody read every night is you really feel motivated to write every week when everybody is going to be, when everyone reads together. It builds community. It also builds a kind of hive mind where we burn with one another's fire. Does that make sense? We're inspired by one another. We feel that we're accomplishing something together by doing it this way. In my graduate school program that I attended, you would read something and everybody had to say something that the work needed. And so you'd present this little 12-line poem and 12 people would say something negative about it. The poem couldn't possibly survive. And that model of workshop is really fading out. It's really abusive and it's not trauma informed. It pays no attention to the soul of a work. It's just people showing off that they know what an adjective is or something like that. And but everybody does say something in our classes. And that's important that we all acknowledge what we heard. So we also learn how to teach this way. If you're planning on going on to teaching, you learn how to listen, you learn how to provide, I wouldn't even say constructive criticism, because even that doesn't embody what we're doing. How to appreciate what somebody has done and participate in the process of exploring other ways to do it. Does that sound good? I hope that communicates. Yeah, it's just a very supportive environment. On a metaphysical level, I believe that we're all writers. I believe that various forces have come across our path telling us that we're not, or telling us we shouldn't, we're not worth it, or, as women, just what you have to say doesn't really matter. We've heard that. And
Or
Well,
that
what,
you're taking up space for a good man.
exactly, exactly. All these messages. And the soul gets frightened. I do believe in the soul. You'll hear me talk about Buddhism. You'll hear me talk about all sorts of things. I think the soul gets frightened and it just decides it's not safe to come forward. And what happens in this program is it does, because it knows it's it relaxes. Pema Chodron, the Buddhist nun teacher, she says you have to relax the nervous system. That's the first step. And that's what we do your first semester. We relax your nervous system. And then it flows. Another question?
I think I have dueling lawnmowers around me, so I apologize if you hear that. That all sounds great. I've been in a lot of programs where, we're required to say something negative and then something positive about a work. And it feels like people are really trying hard sometimes to find negative things, and it can kind of crush, that instinct, like you're saying.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm wondering how many people come in with kind of novels that are kind of far along. I've been working on a novel for a couple of years and been in some programs to kind of workshop it and help out to shape it. But I'm feeling kind of stuck, and I have a lot written, but I don't know. I'm at a impasse in a way, and I've for many years I've wanted to kind of look at MFA programs. I studied English as an undergraduate years ago and studied focusing on creative writing, then have worked in advertising and marketing, kind of like your friend, as a writer, but I'm so sick of writing for that, for selling things. And so the aspect of teaching is like an intriguing idea for me as well, to kind of change careers and write and read and teach more in line with what I'm passionate about. So I am curious, if right into the door, a person would be kind of helped along with a novel in progress, or does it kind of start with kind of baby steps, or how does that sort of
Wonderful, wonderful question. We have a student in the program now who came in with a finished memoir. His name is Alan. And he did hand it to me and I read it. And he did that after, at first I said, just take 2 classes first, because I don't want to give feedback until I actually know who the person is, right? And then I have a sense of who you are as a person. And pardon me, this dog is very attentive. What I'm watching him do is, whenever there's an assignment, whether it's students can take poetry, creative nonfiction, fiction, or screenplay. Occasionally, we have a Hollywood writer come in and teach a screenplay class, which helps all genres. He uses the 800 words a week to revise his memoir as he absorbs the strategies from the books that we're reading. When I say books we're reading, it might be the Cambridge Introduction to Narrative, which becomes a running joke in the program, because the first time you read it, you're like, oh gosh, this is like eating salt. I just don't want to do this. And then by the 3rd, 4th semester, it's like, ooh, chapter 10 of the Cambridge Introduction to Narrative really saved my life. And so it's this running joke. And also it's by a professor named Porter Abbott. So we call him Peter Rabbit. We call the book Peter Rabbit. And so yes, the answer is yes. People have come into the program with completed works and used the course assignments, because it's wide open. Whatever your 800 words is, it's fine. So you would bring a chapter, right? So you just read a chapter in this one book, LaPlante's The Making of a Good Story, and it's creative nonfiction and fiction. And so you just read a wonderful chapter in that book, on setting, and you've looked at chapter 3 of your novel and realized you need to beef up the setting, right? So you rewrite it using the new technique. So you use your time in the program to finish your novel. And then yes, we do have very eager professors to read the whole when you feel it's ready. But my goal is that you'll be able to pick up your chapters after reading some text on the craft of writing and be like, oh gosh, I don't have any dialogue in this whole chapter, and the whole thing could be dialogue. Or I could have at least 10 dialogues to move the plot forward so it isn't so much on the narrator to tell the story. See that kind of thinking? That's how we get thinking. And I hope that's a
Thank
helpful
you.
answer.
That's very helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, we will help you. And then your final creative thesis is 2 semesters of working with a novelist with a very small group of students.
Mhm.
And then it's done. And we also provide guidance on publishing and getting agents, and if that's the path that you want to go.
Great. Thank you so much.
Of course. And with your marketing backgrounds, you could do the self-publishing route and do very well. We have one graduate who was a thoracic surgeon when he came into the program and a writer when he left. And he retired. And I was the second person that he notified that he was retiring. It was his wife, me, then his boss. And he said, I can finally lay down the scalpel and pick up the pen full time.
That's great.
I know, really, really beautiful. And he's published 5 novels. He's self-publishing and self-marketing and just
Wow.
doing
Yeah.
really, really well.
That's very inspiring. Thanks.
Yeah, I can connect you with him. He's a great guy. He graduated about 5 years ago, and I hear from him every week. Every week he sends me something he's published, something he's working on.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So once you have me as a professor, you kind of stuck with me. I have high school students from 30 years ago who still email me poems they wanted to give their girlfriends or wives.
Great.
Yeah. Yes, please. Hi, Jennifer. Good to meet
Hi,
you.
Laura.
Yay. We had a wonderful phone conversation a couple
Yeah,
weeks ago. Great to see
we
you.
did. Nice to see you. My questions are probably a little bit more logistical because I hear you kind of talking about the whole of the program, like the MFA program, and I've been, as Jan knows, really interested in exploring the certificate program as an entree into the
Yes.
larger work, and also pacing because I run my own business and I also write for a living and do a lot of storytelling training for a living, but I don't get to really center my own writing in any way other than in digital channels. And while I teach writing for health, and I'm now serving on a board that's around storytelling and health and training providers, very similar to the VA initiative that you're doing. Again, I still don't get to do a lot of my own work. And to your earlier point, a lot of stories are alive in me, particularly these last 2 years, reckoning with like the collective health crisis that we've been in and my own relationship with my own health. And so in an effort to try to walk my talk, I'm like, I need something to anchor me. I've been journaling for 2 years straight just to document this experience. But so yeah, so I'm more curious logistically about like what the pathway could look like. I get a little confused by the emails now because I'm like, when does the class next semester start? Is that for MFA students or certificate students? What could that journey look like? And then of course, like I know offline I'm talking about funding, but yeah, so I'm eager for that kind of community, the soulful community, to actually explore my own work in the context of healthcare and storytelling, or storytelling or narrative medicine, if you will. So yeah, any insights there? I could go on and on.
Definitely. And while you were talking, the Huskies arrived. So oh, there it goes again. I'm going to mute myself just 1 second and raise my voice at dogs.
And I was going to say, I can post some things in chat as well and everything, but yeah. Because Barbara, you're the MFA in creative writing. And Jennifer, I know you're narrative healthcare. April, are you thinking of the MFA?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
I would be interested in. Yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Laura? What were you thinking?
I'm interested in the narrative medicine.
Okay, there, all right, and the certificate. And then what about you, Kathy? What are you interested in?
Hey there, and Laura, I'm Connie Reagan Blake's friend.
That's right. Hi, how
Hey.
lovely.
What am I interested in? Well, I may not be an unusual case for y'all, but I don't have a college degree. I just have a degree in life, and I've been taking a lot of writing courses. I've been writing short stories for about 20 years, a memoir, but I'm buckling down on more skills. And so I am somewhat interested in narrative medicine. I mentioned to Laura that my partner and I actually wrote a musical theater piece about her cancer experience. It's called All Wigged Out. And when theater was all shut down and canceled a year ago, we lost our minds and raised the money and went to Chicago and worked with an Emmy award-winning production team and filmed the whole damn thing. And we're working on getting it out there, which includes working in the field of narrative medicine, because we're working with a lot of cancer support groups and things like that. But separate from that, I write fiction short stories and I write memoir, and you know, I'm behind the 8 ball in talking to you, Jan, about whether or not I can even get into this program.
We can definitely talk. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, my goals as a writer, you know, I resonate with some of the things, Laura, you've said, because good writing is good writing. And whether it's fiction or creative nonfiction, the basic tenets of what makes your writing good are going to be very similar. So I probably didn't answer your question, but I talked a lot.
No, that's great.
No, it is good. Yeah.
Well, I will let Jan, let's just, sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I will let Jan talk with you about that.
Yeah, we
like,
can
hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully that auditing is an option, hopefully.
Mhm.
And I want to answer Jennifer. I'm so sorry about this. I'm defeated by dogs, which is a good defeat. It's a good defeat. So they've been like on screensaver mode all afternoon. It's just now that they're all acting insane. Jennifer, classes for narrative healthcare are on Tuesday evenings, always and forever, 6 to about 8:30 or 9 p.m. Sometimes we just go till 8. Sometimes we use that extra hour. And we, gosh, I'm so sorry. Very unprofessional. This person is here dropping off the dogs and trying to pay me, but I didn't realize it. So I'm sorry, just one moment. I'm so sorry.
I'll keep going on about that. So Kathy, yeah, let's definitely talk. We can talk about auditing for the certificate in narrative healthcare, because it is those 3 classes. So we can talk about that for sure.
I'm so
And
sorry.
we'll schedule that later. Yeah, and I'll let Laura talk about the
Yeah, so
classes
sorry.
and the program with certificate. So yeah.
Okay, so the narrative healthcare classes are on Tuesdays at 6 to 8, 8:30 or 9. And then the pacing for the program can be very easy. Some students do 1 class a term. In order to do that, you can't do financial aid. Financial aid requires you take 2 classes a term. However, I saw one young woman went through the program. She worked as a waitress and she put herself through without any debt. I have seen it done. She just paid in installments each term and lived on, I don't know, very little. And, but I have seen it done. It is possible to do graduate school without tunneling into debt. It just requires a lot of sacrifice, I think. I have other students that do 3 courses a term and they're burning through. Some of them, it works really, really well. One woman, she is a retired lactation consultant. She came in, already 3 classes a term. And then she realized that she needed to slow down. She realized that by going more slowly, you got more out of each class. And it wasn't just about getting the work done. It was about actually letting your neurology change. And this is what creativity does. It is a neurological phenomenon when we switch from one way of thinking into another. And for it to happen in a healthy way, I recommend 2 classes a term. And if you can't do it, 1 class a term, you'll be in the program for a few years. I have one doctor, she's doing 1 class a term and she takes a semester off. She's moseying through, doesn't matter to us, whatever you need, whatever is manageable for you. And as Jan just said, the narrative healthcare certificate is 3 courses. And I have been teaching it for 8 years. I'm the founder. I came up with this baby. Ours was the first in the country. And now there are others. And it kind of made Columbia University a little bit angry. When the director called me and she said, "What are you doing, starting your own program?" Well, she said, "You said that you wanted programs." She goes, "Well, I meant like within medical schools, teaching doctors how to read stories." I was like, "Oh, I thought you meant starting a graduate program." And that's the way that my mind works. I'm like, and so we worked together on designing it so that it's unique from the Columbia model. And I'll say that the way that it is unique from the Columbia model is I noticed that it wasn't just for doctors, that it was for chaplains, it was for storytellers, it was for psychologists, counselors, policy changers, as well as surgeons and doctors and nurses who do come through the program. But healthcare belongs to all of us, theoretically, since we are the ones who receive it. And so I found a greater audience for it than what Columbia recognized was its need, as its need. And so in the 8 years that I've done this, I've never repeated a syllabus, not once, because the material is always new. There's always new data. There's always new books. This summer, I'm starting next week after next, I'm teaching a class called Writing and Healing. And we're reading Thich Nhat Hanh's Fear as the first text. And then we're moving through Clarissa Pinkola Estes's Women Who Run with the Wolves. We'll read, there's a wonderful book called The Word, and it's all Black writers writing about their experience with writing and healing. Anyway, I have a book list that right now needs to be whittled down a bit. It has about 11 books and it's a 10-week class, so I have to become a little bit realistic. Or I might just assign 4 books that people can choose from. They can choose one and see what they're gravitating towards. So Writing and Healing we'll be writing our own healing stories and learning how to facilitate. Another book is how to create effective workshops, life-changing workshops, because nowadays people are sustaining themselves professionally offering writing workshops, and particularly to help people heal from trauma and the pandemic, which is a trauma. And then the fall class, I'm going into a really exciting space. An article was published last year, I think it was last year, or maybe I just found it last year, about a Peruvian tribe, an indigenous Peruvian tribe. They didn't have a shaman for a generation. Like they wait for their shaman to be born into the tribe, and they just did not have one. So they used narrative medicine in its place to heal the people in the tribe. And this is kind of what I've been waiting for, because as a poet, I've always felt that writing and telling stories healed me. I've seen it do incredible things. And maybe not healing a cut on my knee, but healing deafness, right? Even though it didn't cure it, it healed it in me. And as a poet, I've been tuned into indigenous cultures and places in the world where story and poetry are valued, which are usually not highly technologized societies. And so this is what we'll be moving into in the fall. We'll be looking at the connection between healthcare and actual healing, and drawing on shamanism. And you and I talked about that, Jennifer, right? Our conversation is a part of this, which is a model for how I teach to my friends. If you want something, like if you want a class on something, let's design it together, right? We're small, we're fast, we're innovative. I'm the program coordinator. I get to make decisions. And and so it's really organic. It really comes from within the program. The screenplay class that's coming up this fall is taught by, he calls me his ride or die. My best friend from high school has gone and made it big in Hollywood. And one student really wanted a visual storytelling class. So I made it happen. I called on Josh. I said, hey, tell Chris Rock and Sam Jackson they need to wait, and you're going to teach a class for us in the fall. And so he is. So it's really organic, really community oriented. And when I hear an idea that I want to explore, I'll invite you to explore it with me. Thanks for listening to me talk on and on and on. I get very excited about doing this.
I'd like to talk about what I'm interested in. And I have a wiggly spaniel on my lap here.
Yay!
Yeah. And I did pet therapy at Mission for about 5 years. And it happened to be at the same time as my parents were both elderly and declining. And it really helped me so much to cope with all that. And in fact, you knew my dad, Dr. Rathbun.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
did. I edited his book.
Yes, exactly.
It's nice to see you. Wow.
Yeah, it's been quite a while, but so I've been working on a book about my experiences doing pet therapy, and also being at the same time as losing my parents. Sorry, this is Holly.
If anybody's going to understand a dog on the lap, it's going to be me, Laurel.
Right? Yeah. So, and I've been turning some of the little anecdotes into short essays, and I've had some good success having them published. And so I'm excited about that. And then recently, a few months ago, I got a certificate in being a companion animal end-of-life doula. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with this other than possibly help people. Well, the idea is that you help people who are going through pet loss and provide support to them. But I came up with the idea of helping them write about their pet's life story, that would be healing for them. And so I have lots of different directions I could go in. And
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful. We need that. It's so downplayed. I think it's getting more attention now with social media, that how deeply we're giving ourselves more permission to grieve the deaths of our pets. There's a Barbara Kingsolver, I don't know if it's a novel or a story, that the first sentence is, "It was a difficult year, our dog died."
Oh, wow.
right? That just how that colors the whole year
Mhm.
and or the next, I still, I can make myself burst into tears at a heartbeat if I think of my childhood sheepdog. And so thank you. That's wonderful work. That's really, really wonderful work.
So I'm interested in the logistics of the how many courses for a semester, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah. Well, it will be, you can choose your load, 1, 2, or 3 courses a term. And all the classes, we have classes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, generally. We sometimes have a class in the afternoon. And the screenplay class might be in the afternoon. I'm going to check with, we canceled one class because there wasn't enough enrollment. And so usually we're in the evening to help people with their schedules, to help people accommodate their busy schedules. And so that's how that goes. And you would take 7 workshops, 6 literary study courses. But again, the literary study courses, we read and we write in those. They have a workshop component as well. You're constantly writing in this program. Does that help?
yes, it does. Thank you.
Good. And I'm very sorry about your parents. I did get to meet Dr. Rathbun while I was working on his book, and his stories stay with me. And he's a beautiful man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah. Oh, he's just a
Yeah.
gem, just a gem.
Mhm.
I'm looking at his book
I
right now.
have the original manuscript and been rereading that, and his recall of details from so many years ago was just amazing. So
The cats in his rural town. I still remember that. Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Don't forget that. Yeah.
Laura, so can you go over the 3 classes for the certificate?
Go over them, what they are.
Order that they're, yeah,
Yeah.
just kind
Sure.
of clarify, like for Jennifer, just and for me too.
Sure.
So the order, and I know that
Right.
there's not really an order. You can start
Exactly.
at any time. So it's not
Exactly.
a cohort or anything like that. So yeah.
Right. It's not a cohort. In order to design the program, I had to come up with names that could not change, that stay in the catalog. I use those names quite loosely. So this coming semester, I think it is like patient is hero, doctor. Patient is hero, doctor as something else, but it reverses the power structure. Another one is narratives of illness, and another is intro to narrative medicine. But they're all intro to narrative medicine. They're all patient is hero, doctor is healer. I think that's what it's called. They all really do the same thing each semester. I did it that I made it very loose, partly to accommodate the changing field. When I first started the program 8 years ago, no one would talk to me. I mean, I couldn't, even writers would say, sounds a little woo-woo, Laura. And I'm like, you're a writer, you are woo-woo, what are you doing? And the director of MAHEC was like, sounds interesting, but I'm really busy right now. Hit me up in a few months. But then in 2018, I produced with MAHEC, at MAHEC, the first North Carolina Symposium on Narrative Healthcare. And so I won. And then now with the pandemic, that's why I'm getting asked to come and speak and do design programming for the VA, because never again will anybody ever say story and medicine are disconnected. And that field has been evolving each semester. And so I follow it and have to revise the program every semester. So you don't have to take the classes sequentially. Some students, they'll take a narrative healthcare class planning to go through sequentially, but they discover they're a poet and then the next semester take a poetry class, or they really catch fire on memoir and they want to take a creative nonfiction workshop. And then they can you can hop back on the narrative healthcare track whenever you want, because you can bet it's going to be a brand new syllabus. But the course numbers 545, 546, 547, those are fixed in the system. But if you hop off and hop back on and don't do 545, then 546, and end up with 2 546s, this sounds like really academic admin talk, but it is. I have a form called the substitution form that lets me flip the numbers. I can do everything. I'm the boss. So, yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify. So for the certificate, you need to take 3 classes, right?
Yes.
So like if someone was hypothetically going to start your next class, this writing and healing, that qualifies as one of the courses. Like it doesn't matter what number it is. It's
Yes.
just like one of the 3 courses. And
Yes.
then, okay.
And then do
like
fall.
you guys help figure out like the okay.
Yeah, I smudge the lines where needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they allow it. I'm not breaking any rules as I just submit the forms and flip the numbers. And we have we have a surgeon in the narrative healthcare program. She's a retired surgeon. She has taken 8, I think she might be about to take her 9th narrative healthcare class. And she only needed 3, but she loves it so much that she keeps taking them, and it challenges me as a teacher. It's another reason never to repeat a syllabus, because Carol's involved. It's transformative for her. She came in saying she would never write poetry, and now that'll be her creative thesis, is a book of poems about her surgeries, about the surgeries that she has done and patients that she has attended to. And it's just completing her. She did the science side, she did the cutting, and now she's healing. I think Laura, similar to Dr. Rathbun's book, he was ahead of his time with narrative medicine, of doctors telling their stories and showing the human side of healthcare. And so that's what she's doing now. She's also on the NASA bioethics committee for the mission to Mars. So we'll get the lowdown on how things are going. And also the wildest late excuses you've ever heard. I'm on a Zoom with NASA, I'll be 10 minutes late. So I hope I'm being grounded enough. I'm very excited to be talking with you. And so the lowdown again is 6 for the MFA, 6 literary study courses, 7 workshops, and 2 creative thesis semesters. So it's 45 credits altogether. For the narrative healthcare certificate, it's 3 courses taken at any time in any sequence. I can adjust the numbers. And the narrative healthcare classes count towards the workshop credits within the MFA. And that's why Carol could take 8 or 9 of these classes. They are her workshops. And occasionally she steps off and does another class. Also with that substitution form, if you've just really found yourself hooked on creative nonfiction workshops or fiction workshops, and you end up with 8 workshops and 5 literary study courses, I can get out my magic form, my friends, and just flip a workshop into literary study. It's fine. Makes sense? Yeah. So also a word about genre. Most MFA programs make you declare your genre at the beginning, and you don't have to do that here. Here we want you to explore. We want you to do fiction, creative nonfiction, poetry, take a screenplay class. And then if you do want to focus on one genre, you are welcome to. We are young and small, and we're not even equipped to have specific all fiction tracks, all creative nonfiction tracks. I hope we stay this size, actually. Sorry, Jan, but yeah, I mean, it's a good size. And so, and I find, I went through graduate school as a poet. I'm a creative nonfiction writer too, and I'm writing a novel. And I love learning about screenplay. So we want, and there are some emotions, some ideas that I know now aren't going to be poems. Oh, I need to explore that in a short story or a storytelling, Kathy. You know, I need to tell that story orally. That's not a story for page. And then students realize this. They'll say, well, I wrote this as creative nonfiction, and now I'm fictionalizing it. Now I'm writing it in third person and developing the other characters. This is a big part of revision that I think gets neglected. It's like, are you even writing in the right genre? Yeah. That's another cool thing about the program. We do offer a revision class, and not many programs do. I started doing that a couple of years ago, and now it's catching on that we need to have classes only on revision, where you bring your rough drafts, read from it, and then show how you changed it using some excellent text specifically addressing revision. Hi, Jane. Jane Hamrick has joined us.
Yes, sorry, and I think Jane is interested in another program. She and I were going to meet at 6:30.
Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. Oh, then I should go. I've been talking a lot. Hi, Jane. Good to see you. Whatever it is, you're obviously being shown you should be a writer.
I told her when she came in, I was like, you might hear us talking about poetry or dystopian fiction or who knows, but so it was genres. So that's a good thing.
Wonderful. You're welcome to join us. And this is a program that other students hop over for a semester and take.
Yeah, that's an important thing, I think, for everyone to know, that you can take a class or two, perhaps in another area as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Lots of good connections that way. So I will email all of y'all some kind of the bullet points of everything that that Laura's discussed. And Jennifer, I hope that helped kind of clarify just a little bit more about the classes and stuff. So it's really very flexible is the main point.
Yeah.
And low stress, which is also another very main point. So I love that. So
yeah. And you can see behind me, these are my paintings. And I'm a painter too. And so I'm showing you that because I'm 100% into creativity. And this is what you're going to get into too when you join us. And I hate to, as much as it can be understood, I understand it. And I will help you as you move into that world and support you as you do. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you. And I wish we could talk for a long time. As you can tell, I'm tired of summer. I'm ready to teach. I love it. Okay. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you. Bye.
I'll take care. And y'all, I think have my email. I'll put it real quick here in chat so that y'all got it, and just email me with any questions, or send me something if you have a question for Laura, or I can also put her email in here as well. And so please email us any questions y'all have. We can set up a time to talk one-on-one or Zoom. And I think Laura usually prefers to Zoom if she can. So yeah. All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us, y'all. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, Jane. Thanks for being patient.
Hey, yeah, no problem.